Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Sunday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Certainly having yourselves a great start to your Sunday morning. It's a beautiful morning out here in the Carolinas. You can tell it's going to be very, very hot today here in South Carolina, though. Did a little walk this morning, and you can tell it's going to heat up fast around here. But there's been a lot of areas of the country that's been very hot, so I'm not going to even complain. I was thinking to myself, dang, today's going to be one of the hottest days of the summer, and I didn't get any yard work done yesterday. I'm going to have to do it this afternoon after church, but that's what I get. So just going to suck it up and sweat my butt off later this afternoon. Just drink plenty of water, but it's going to be a very hot day. There's going to be a chance of widespread strong to severe storms for a pretty large area. We're going to break that down for you folks and keep you guys covered, aware of what could potentially unfold for today as basically a trough is digging down, and along it you're going to have favorable lift in the atmosphere for a lot of storm development. So that's kind of what's driving this. This will continue to progress eastward into tomorrow, and then even into Tuesday we'll have a severe weather threat each day, and then another trough will dig down into the lower 48 for our Tuesday and Wednesday. Will create another severe weather threat across the northern portion of the lower 48. So we're going to break it all down for you folks, talk about today specifically, keep you guys aware. Appreciate the support, guys. I really do. Appreciate all the nice comments, and just thank y'all really for the amazing support. I'm inching closer to 50,000 subscribers. That's halfway to 100, obviously. And it just feels unrealistic to me that one day I will hit 100K on this channel, thanks to you guys. So I really appreciate every single one of you folks who make this part of your routine. You folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. You guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over? As always, please put those in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. Definitely asking for prayers for myself. This past week, it was a big transition week with getting the girls back to school. One of my little girls was dealing with a cough, which is now going away now. But I just got a tick off track. I felt like I never could just catch up. It just was one of those weeks. It was a trying week, and just praying for a better week. But I'm blessed. Not complaining one bit, but definitely just asking that I guess I can get back on track, that's for sure. And I have not been able to answer the comments from last night's video. If you're wondering what's coming up weather-wise, last night's video, the information has not changed. It'll be a great video to tune into for sure. But that being said, let's get rolling here. The intro is about 3 minutes long. Let's get going. Water vapor loop, talking about what's going on out there. This is working, so we're good to go. So we got the ridge. It's very broad. It's not shooting very far north, but it's kind of spread across these regions. So everybody down here, I would almost say a little bit further south, honestly, but it's just going to be hot down here below this pink line. I mean, there's even heat advisories all the way into South Carolina, the eastern areas of North Carolina, which, if you don't know, the heat advisory criteria for central South Carolina and the sandhills of North Carolina is very high. It's got to be very hot and very humid to get a heat advisory in these areas of the country. But you guys have dealt with it every single day just about this summer for the southern tier of the U.S., and I hate it. Luckily, we're going to get a little bit of a cold front. I talked about it last night, that might really break the back of the heat for like a day or two. Okay, I know it's not a lot, but I guess we'll take anything we can get. Basically, along this boundary, with this digging trough right here, the shortwave trough that's digging down, you can see it spinning, right? This little spin right in here. This is digging down. This will continue to cruise across the northern portion of the country. And with it, you're going to get a belt of favorable winds that shoot across this region. So you're going to get strong to severe storms kind of in between this upper trough and this ridge boundary. So a belt of what we call favorable westerlies. So basically the mid-level flow aloft, I mean several thousand feet up in the air, is going to be screaming through this region. This will create shear lift for the atmosphere to create widespread showers and storms across this second arrow, this bottom arrow that I just did. So that's going to be the case. It's already been the case this morning when we have widespread showers and storms ongoing. Nothing really too severe. But we'll move on, and this is it. You already got flash flood warnings up for southwest portions of Missouri, but you're already dealing with a lot of shower and storm activity, just more of a blob of rain, moderate rain up here in a lot of Iowa, southern sections of Minnesota. Some stronger storms surging through the northern half of Nebraska up here. So it's already pretty active, but as far as severe weather active, not at this moment, as of around 7:30 a.m. Eastern time, 6:30 you guys' time out here. Nothing really severe, just some strong storms, a lot of heavy rain falling. The rest of the country, pretty quiet. We've even got some rain up here in the Dakotas. There's a little bit of a spin with this, with a weak surface low that's going to surge down to here, and it might spike a little bit of a tornado threat for this portion of the country right into here. So that's kind of what's going on right now. The Storm Prediction Center. I do want to briefly mention this, and we'll talk in detail on this. Not extreme detail. It's only so much detail you can get with this. Pretty cut and dry. But for Maine, you guys could get some widespread strong to severe storms today. I don't think that you're going to get a severe weather outbreak, but I think you're going to get numerous showers and storms today in Maine. Really, anybody in the state of Maine, even a little bit further south. That's why you got the marginal level 1 out of 5 risk up here. But right here in the middle of the country will be the epicenter of the worst weather. Slight risk from Amarillo all the way to central Kentucky and Tennessee, all the way up to Omaha, Nebraska. But just like we mentioned last night, we thought this was going to happen with an area of increased confidence on where the severe storms will be. You got the enhanced risk right here at the bottom half of Missouri, even the far northern counties of Arkansas, small portion of southeast Kansas, and northeast Oklahoma. So this is driven off wind. If we look at the tornado threat, though, first, there's a 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in any given location. In the brown area, 2% risk, same criteria in the green. So a legit tornado threat today is possible. I don't think that's going to increase. Of course, you guys know they'll drop another update here in about an hour and a half. And they'll probably change something, tweak something. Maybe we'll get a hatch risk of something. But as of right now, this is what it looks like. But the Storm Prediction Center mentions multiple boundaries down here in southern Missouri. And we could have some storms that latch onto that. And one, create a flash flooding scenario, which I'll talk about here in a second. And two, with the changing of wind directions along these boundaries, sometimes they latch onto this and we can have a brief tornado. There's a 30% risk of winds exceeding 50 knots or higher. That's 55 to 60 miles per hour within 25 miles in any given location in the red area. There's a 15% risk of that same criteria in the yellow, which is pretty broad, pretty large. But this, once you get a bump from 15 to a 30% risk of winds, that immediately warrants a enhanced risk. And that's the case. We got that in the red area right here. So it's really going to be, I wouldn't say significant, but you're definitely going to have some strong winds with these storms. I wouldn't be surprised one bit, guys, if this 30% risk extends into Tennessee. And I'll talk about why later in the video, but I really think that this could get extended into Tennessee, maybe portions of Kentucky. Hail threat, this could increase to a 30% risk. It really could, but you got a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger in the yellow area you see on your screen, which is pretty large. Hope you guys, I meant to say this at the beginning of the video, hope you guys are faring well in Ohio, areas of West Virginia, even Pennsylvania, south of the Pittsburgh area. It got very active, confirmed tornadoes. Buddy of mine on Twitter, Norman Smith, he actually got his drone up and caught one of the tornadoes, I believe around the Athens, Ohio region, which is in southeast Ohio. A legit tornado formed, and he got it on his drone. Takes a lot of talent to do that. But I hope you guys are well. I haven't heard anything about widespread damage, but there was definitely some confirmed tornadoes yesterday in Ohio, even into Pittsburgh. Flash flooding today. We mentioned this last night too. We mentioned there was a possibility this would bump up to a moderate risk in southern Missouri. Sure enough, here we go. Confidence has increased in that. And guys, when I say that, when I try to toot my own horn there, it's not really what I'm doing. When I say, oh, we mentioned this, I mentioned this. It's trust me, I'm no better than the experts. I know a lot of people come on here on the comments and say, man, you're better than the locals. I appreciate that. I really do. It makes me smile when I read it, but trust me, I'm no better than them. They only get about 60 seconds of airtime. So I get as much time as I want to talk about this in detail. Okay, but trust me, they see it just as much as I do. They do, guys. But I thank y'all. I really do. It means the world to me when y'all say stuff like that. But there's a moderate risk. That means there's at least a 40% risk of flash flood guidance being met in this red area. Then a 15% risk of that same criteria. in the yellow area. So, I mean, I think we can get multiple inches of rain today. Already falling right now, but multiple inches of rain throughout the next 24 hours in this region here in southern Missouri. Watches, warnings, advisories. Just brutally hot in the southern tier of the U.S. Excessive heat warnings widespread. I swear I have not seen a summer with as many excessive heat warnings issued as this summer. I haven't. It feels like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like, I can't remember. I think some people have tossed around the year of 2011 was very brutal too as far as heat, but heat advisories all the way up to Norfolk, Virginia now. But in this purple color, that's excessive heat warnings. You're probably going to get heat indices from 110 to 120 degrees at the max heating of the day today. Just brutally hot conditions for everybody in these orange, burgundy, and purple colors. And then you got the red flag warnings in this hot pink color where you guys really desperately need some rain. Let's talk about the southeast first. We'll move through the time frame. We always take a broad look at this first, and we'll watch the convection that moves out of Missouri, and we'll give Missouri, Oklahoma, Illinois, surrounding regions, Arkansas, its own airtime here in a second, but we'll even talk about Arkansas two times in this video. But we'll watch these storms that could potentially be here moving through the Boot Heel, Missouri, and eventually make its way into Tennessee a little bit later this evening. We'll watch that, see what happens. The models differ on this happening. For example, last night was a weird example where all models were kind of wrong. We got an intense area of storms that moved across the southern Alps region all the way into upstate South Carolina, North Georgia, and warned it with severe weather. Okay, but most models didn't show it extending all the way that far east, but it happened. So this is around 7, 8 p.m. You got a line of storms screaming through western Kentucky and western Tennessee. Meanwhile, you just got normal pop-up convection down here in Florida. Nothing too unusual for you folks. And then we'll watch what happens later tonight into the wee hours of the morning as an area of storms surges its way through Kentucky. Again, maybe western Tennessee. Maybe you guys get 2 rounds of storms over the next 24 hours. But let's zoom in to the deep south. And, I mean, this is really the area we watch, right? Do we get some strong to severe storms that get popping off here like around Jonesboro? They form around Jonesboro maybe around this afternoon, 3, 4 p.m. It's possible they might strengthen into a more solid line as they move across western areas of Tennessee, Dyersburg, Jackson, Tennessee. We'll just get some standard pop-up activity into this really juicy, very hot air mass down here in southern Alabama, central Alabama. This is quite possible. Along this boundary, though, we could have a nasty line of storms sometime late this afternoon into this evening that kind of moves across the entire state of Tennessee from I would say late afternoon throughout the evening time frame. That's possible. So it enters Tennessee. If this run of the HRRR model is correct, I can guarantee you it's going to be off somewhat around 6 p.m. and then just runs across the entire state throughout the evening time frame, making it to about Nashville, 10, 11 p.m. And then it shows another area of storms maybe entering the region sometime as we're waking up tomorrow morning. Okay, so as far as winds from that, I mean, they show to be pretty intense, guys. I mean, this is 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., keeps going. So it shows this line of storms that I just talked about producing 40, 50, 60 mile per hour wind gusts along it. This is in 1 hour intervals. So, of course, you guys know it's going to show gaps. That doesn't mean it's just going to skip over these areas. But, I mean, some areas in here, that's 80 to 90 mile per hour winds. Very strong winds associated with this line of storms. If this forms, there could be pretty intense conditions sometime this afternoon to this evening in this area. So it's something we need to pay attention to. But I can tell you, south of this convection, because this is where the boundary is up here, typical normal type summer, late summer type heat up here in Tennessee, northern areas of Arkansas. But you get down here, the air temperature will get into the upper 90s, low 100s, like in Jackson, Montgomery, Alabama, close to Birmingham, Tuscaloosa. I mean, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Shreveport. I mean, when you're getting 100-degree air temperatures at the coast, Typically, you got a little bit of a sea breeze, a breeze that keeps you guys cooler by about 4 to 5 degrees than your immediate areas, like 30 to 40 minutes away from the coast, but not in this case. Okay, just brutal air temperatures. But not just the air temperatures, guys, but look at the feels like temperatures. This is the heat indices. I mean, this area right here in north central Mississippi, I mean, you can tell there's two National Weather Services. Looks like the National Weather Service in Jackson and Memphis are disagreeing somewhat on how extreme this is going to be. But the one in Jackson is saying, hey, north of Jackson, you can get a heat index of 120 degrees today. Okay? Right along that Interstate 55 corridor, very hot. Jackson, over 112. I mean, just brutally hot. Find where you are on this location. On this map, and man, it is going to be extremely uncomfortable today across the deep south, temperature wise. Okay, I thought I had a map up for, nope, I forgot. I'm going to cover Kentucky in the later portion of the video, so for you folks in Kentucky, stay tuned. I got you covered. For my folks here in the Carolinas, it's going to be a hot day too. Not quite as hot to you folks to the west and southwest, but air temperatures will get into the mid to upper 90s as far north as eastern areas of Virginia, Charlotte, Columbia, Augusta, Atlanta, Florence, Fayetteville. Very, very hot today. You mix this with the actual feels like temperatures, brutally hot conditions, well over 105, 110 degree heat index. Just very hot condition. Now, I don't want to leave my folks in Florida hanging. Look at the heat index for you guys today. I think the Tampa Bay area, the air temperature hit almost 100 degrees yesterday with a heat index over 120. But very uncomfortable conditions here in Florida today. Heat index well over 110. But I would say it's a tick hotter in the panhandle of Florida today, where the heat index will widespread be over 110 degrees today. Just very, very uncomfortable conditions for the southeast for sure for temperature. But moving on to the northeast, really the big storyline up here will be Maine, maybe portions of New Hampshire, Vermont, and we'll keep this in motion here. After some morning showers and storms move through, we will still be dealing with that system that brought all that severe weather for like Ohio, Pittsburgh, and New York State yesterday. This is still around close enough to the lower 48 to where we are going to have a lot of scattered strong to severe storms out here. Now, I mean, do I think this is going to be like widespread severe outbreak material up here? I don't. But certainly you're going to see a lot of storm activity, especially in Maine, but Vermont, New Hampshire, even down to Western Mass, it's possible too. And I think we're going to get a lot of activity up here today. And we'll get a little bit closer look at my folks in Maine. Don't want to leave you guys hanging up here. This is one of the states I would love to live in. But, you get into about 1 to 2 p.m. I mean, you see these storms. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you get a tornado warning somewhere up here. There's, you're up here close to a low. Kinmatics are there, and I certainly think that we could get some spinach in some of these storms. But, I mean, you stop it here, it's around 3 to 4 p.m. A lot of storm activity surging through the state of Maine. Really anybody in Maine. I could name out all the cities, Caribou, Bangor. You guys, and anybody can get a storm today in Maine. New Hampshire, Vermont also could get some showers and storms throughout this afternoon, and it's going to be really widespread, especially up here in the northern terrain of Maine. I mean, you definitely could just see an afternoon packed full of storms. So, and then by the time we get into this afternoon, late this evening to the overnight hours, things chill out a bit. But definitely be prepared in the state of Maine for definitely a stormy afternoon and evening for sure. South Central U.S., this will be a big topic area. They'll take up a good chunk of the video. We're dealing with all this morning showers and storms right now in areas of Missouri, eastern Kansas, and many other areas too north of this region. As we get into this afternoon, there will probably be some kind of a break, some kind of lull in Oklahoma. And you're thinking, well, we have a chance of strong to severe storms. Where are they? Well, it really takes, and we already kind of talked about this, and we'll talk about it again. We started to get some storm development like late. I would say late in the evening. I would say early to mid-evening, actually, for Kansas, the panhandle of Oklahoma and Texas. And this continues, and there's a sagging cold front here. And along this cold front, you're getting a lot of shower and storm activity. And I would say that it gets its worst after the sun goes down today. So, I mean, this is around 11 p.m., you got a lot of storm activity ongoing here in areas of Oklahoma, southern Kansas, but it's really this cluster of storms right here that I want to watch in Missouri, and then this continues to trail eastward, and then we begin our day of severe weather for tomorrow. But we're going to zoom into all these regions like we always do. We'll talk about Oklahoma and Kansas in this. We get rid of the morning convection, and then here comes these scattered storms that begin to pop up around the Amarillo area, just the panhandle of Texas. They begin to drift into western areas of Oklahoma. We start to see this sagging of this cold front, and we get some storms that develop along this front as it begins to sag down into Kansas and just the middle of the country. And along this, we are definitely going to have some strong to severe storms. This is around 9 p.m., so the sun is beginning to fully be set. And any of these storms could produce some damaging winds, some hail, even a tornado risk. And these continue. And, I think they could form maybe right on top of Kansas City. But I think it gets a little bit more active as we get south of Kansas City. I certainly think along, Highway 69, all the way down to Joplin. I think Joplin can certainly see some strong to severe storms later tonight. And, I think that overnight tonight will be its most active in Oklahoma, northern Oklahoma. This could produce a lot of heavy rain, gusty winds. Do I think this is going to be a super significant event for Oklahoma? I don't, but we'll see what happens. We move a little bit further to our east. Now, this is the area that this entire severe weather setup today is everywhere. But this is the area where we have the highest confidence for storms. The HRRR model wants to take these storms, kind of reform them, this area of convection that's over this region right now. Let's see if we can get this going. So it's already kind of on track, right? So it really wants to take this, and it's kind of ahead of schedule. It really wants to take this area of storms, and as it continues to move, and this is what's happening right now towards the boot hill, it wants to try to strengthen this later in the morning hours, but I can tell you this is already ahead of schedule. So it's hard to really fully believe the model guidance with this. So it really is taking that little blob right here and strengthening it, but it already looks different to me. So it's hard to believe that's going to happen, but we will watch for an area of storms that might really organize right on top of the Boot Hill, Missouri, even Poplar Bluff, right down here. This could affect southern Illinois sometime later this evening. This could blast through the western areas of Kentucky, and we've already talked about western Tennessee, but watch out around Paducah, Kentucky, even all the way up to Carbondale, Illinois, Mayfield region. Well, watch for some storms that push through late evening, okay? But what we really want to watch for is what happens after, if this convection forms. As this cold front sags down, there's going to be multiple boundaries. And this is when the flooding threat escalates. I mean, look what time it is. It's 11 p.m. Eastern time, so this is 10 p.m. in Missouri time. We get this area of storms after the sun sets tonight that really begins to dominate the southern sections of Missouri. It really starts to form right on top of that Interstate 44, Springfield, Joplin, and everybody south of Interstate 44 really starts to get hit hard later tonight by storms. We have to watch out with these boundaries because these storms could produce, obviously, your damaging winds because that's your highest threat, but it also could produce a tornado or two out here. And this would be a nocturnal thing, meaning after the sun sets. And look at how these storms are just moving very slow. Okay, this line of storms makes its way through. It starts to hammer again areas of southern Illinois. So the HRRR model says, hey, you're going to get 2 air rounds of storms, one this afternoon, one late tonight to the wee hours of the morning. And it's still raining pretty heavily. This is around 6, 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. And so it's complex, guys. Are we going to get this area of storms that forms later this afternoon in southeast Missouri, areas of northern Arkansas? Because northern Arkansas, you guys could get some severe storms too in the Ozarks. If you live just north of, in the northern areas of Arkansas, Mountain Home, Harrison, you guys all the way to Jonesboro, you guys could certainly see some severe storms this afternoon because you're not being affected by as much convection this morning. I mean, you already, well, no, I lie. I'm sorry. You definitely do have a line of just some heavy rain moving through the state. So you're already experiencing it, but what forms behind this, I guess, is the big question. So it's a tough one today. If we look at the NAM on what it wants to happen here, the NAM really wants, and I'm telling you, both models are kind of off. because a lot of this shower and storm activity is already ahead of what the model guidance is showing. But the NAM is saying, hey, you're going to get a line of storms, develops quickly, sweeps across the entire state of Missouri. By the time it hits St. Louis, I mean, you could have a bowing out line of storms hitting St. Louis, basically moving all the way to the Missouri-Illinois state line, and you could have a pretty decent line of storms sweeping across southern Illinois all the way down to the Boot Hill, Missouri, making it all the way to Evansville, Indiana, western Kentucky by the time you're getting into the evening time frame. Okay? And then around 9-10 p.m., it has another area of significant weather forming here in the Boot Hill, Missouri. All right, southeast Missouri. And wants to hit you guys again a little bit further south. A nasty line of storms develops, sweeps through this region. But most model guidance does agree on what happens tonight. It likes just an area of kind of organized or maybe unorganized showers and storms in southern Missouri, northern Arkansas that begins to form. And I know that's everywhere, guys, and I can't stand setups like this. That's so hard to explain. But just know there's a chance that as we get into about late morning, early afternoon, you could get some storms that form in this region. And then there could be breaks, and then just because you get into a break doesn't mean the severe weather threat's over. As we get into later tonight, you could get more rounds of showers and storms into this region. I know that doesn't help much, but that's why it's always great to have a reliable radar to look at. If we're looking at the HRRR model, it really likes that first round of storms right in here that really gets going later this afternoon. And I could see this happening just because this forms later this afternoon as the atmosphere recovers. So I'd watch out western Tennessee for an area of storms that moves through, areas of southern Missouri, northern Arkansas, and then we see what happens later on. And here comes another area that has very strong winds later tonight. Okay, we look at the updraft Felicity swath. Picks up on this first round of storms right in here where there's some elevated rotation off this run of the HRRR model. And then we look at what happens tonight, and then look at this. You see this region right in here. This starts to move in overnight tonight, and it really wants a lot of these storms to spin later tonight into southern Missouri, into the wee hours of the morning, even northern Arkansas. That's why you got that 5% risk of a tornado right here dominating most of southern areas of Missouri. So might be a multi-round setup today of severe storms. Please be aware. Have a reliable radar to look at. But basically from southeastern Kansas through southern areas of Missouri, even the extreme northern counties of Arkansas, even southern, Illinois, and extreme western and northwestern Tennessee and Kentucky. I mean, a few inches of rain over here, but I mean, they're going for 2 to 3, maybe as much as 4 inches of rain here in southwest Missouri. A lot of rain could fall between just these rounds of storms that are going to move through the area. So please be weather aware in that area of the country. I know that's kind of everywhere, but the setup's kind of everywhere. Models do not agree with what's going to happen. Just know that you got the risk. Today up here in the north central U.S., we're dealing with a lot of convection. I think we'll just deal with a lot of rain. There'll be a weak surface low up here that'll move eventually out of the eastern Dakotas, eastern South Dakota, into sections of southwest Minnesota later today. So you'll just have a spinning area of showers, even some storms that will keep temperatures probably kind of cool up here. But along and around and really just east and southeast of this low, I think you'll get an area of storms that gets going in southern areas of Minnesota, northern Iowa. And I would not be surprised one bit if you live in well south of Minnesota, and well north of like Ames and Des Moines, basically between this region right into here. Some of these storms today are going to have a chance to produce a tornado. You're right near a surface low, enhanced kinematics right into this region. You're most likely going to get some storms that are spinning. Are you going to get a tornado warning? I just watch out for this little line of storms right in here. And then you make your way into later tonight. A blob of kind of light to moderate rain takes over most of the northern half of Wisconsin. Could ooze into the UP and Michigan. We'll see what happens. And I think you're waking up to a pretty soggy morning in Minneapolis, all the way to Madison, to Milwaukee, to Green Bay, maybe the southern portions of the UP. And then a lot of scattered convection you're waking up to in Illinois and Indiana for your Monday morning. Okay. Western U.S., the northern tier of this area, the northern Rockies, I don't even see a drop of rain falling. But you get down here into the Four Corners region, southern areas of Nevada, even here in California, some scattered convection is possible. Not everybody will get rain, but there's a good chance that you're going to have a lot of monsoonal energy just kind of flying around out there. Really, no one place has a higher chance of the other. I would say eastern areas of New Mexico maybe has the highest chance of it out of everybody out here in the Southwest. But definitely a lot of scattered convection flying around out here in southern Utah, especially southern Colorado, New Mexico, areas of northern Arizona, areas of the southern half of Nevada. It's convection, nothing too bad, nothing too severe, but you can always use the rain out here. So temperatures for today, a little area of cooler weather where a lot of rain will be around from the surface low. Warming up a good little bit more here in the Northeast, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Most will be in the 70s and 80s. There'll be a boundary right here in Pennsylvania where you'll go from the 70s and 80s into the 90s, and very uncomfortable once you get into Virginia, into the Carolinas. The immediate deep south is going to be very hot, but once you get into Tennessee, Kentucky, yes, it'll be warm, but basically you got a boundary between where your flow with your storms are and then your ridge boundary that's going to separate typical summer heat with well above average summer heat and very uncomfortable summer heat. So temperatures out west are starting to warm up in the western U.S., starting to get above average again. Very hot in certain areas. Oregon's about to be under a big time heat wave, I believe I'm hearing. I know I don't focus a lot out here, but I think it's about to get very hot in portions of Oregon. For example, in Northern California, as you're changing your pattern to a more hot pattern out here. So please be aware. The high plains, northern plains, cool. It's nice in Montana, the Dakotas, pleasant air, even in northern Nebraska, Wyoming, almost kind of like a fall air mass up here. Very nice temperatures for your Sunday. Severe weather threat shifts east as we get into our Monday. We got a slight risk. Could this increase to an enhanced risk? It's possible, but this is right over some higher terrain in West Virginia, eastern Kentucky, areas of Virginia, kind of those same areas as last Monday, but this is nothing compared to last Monday as far as severe weather. But we are going to have yet another Monday where things pop off in this region, and it's going to certainly get very active. So we'll definitely get in detail on that on our next video, but definitely prepare for widespread severe weather if you live in the Mid-Atlantic and the Central Alps region, and even into the Southern Alps region for sure. And then even getting the same system as it continues to chug on off to the eastern U.S., we're going to have some severe weather possible in the Delmarva region, southeast areas of Virginia, basically from New York City down to Charleston, South Carolina. Could see some severe weather. And then we watch our next system. A strong upper trough digs into the lower 48, and I think you got to get ready. You folks in the upper Midwest, the north central U.S., y'all could be under the gun for some strong to severe storms. Already a slight risk at day 4 for our Tuesday. So real quick update on the tropics. I do want to mention this. I talked in depth on the tropics last night, but I do think things are going to get a little more active this week. I think that in the weather chat, if you will, the weather world, I think the tropics will become a bigger topic. This is the latest on European ensemble that you're looking at right now, and it does show things getting active. Is things getting active as far as a threatening scenario? No, I don't see anything right now. But I definitely think we're going to start to see and hear about, and we're going to talk about more on the tropics, especially. I'll tell you this. I'll be interested to see where we sit at with the tropics this coming weekend. Is this just model noise? Is this really actually something going on? We got to see, but I can tell you the operational runs are definitely a lot more excited about things getting picked up out here than what they were the last few days. But we'll see what happens. That's all I got. God bless all y'all. Have a great Sunday, and I'll talk to you soon.